Welcome to She Wears the Pants, the podcast where women build companies that can hold their calling. I'm your host, Ashley Deland, business advisor, multi-business founder, and startup investor, guiding women to scale with structure, strategy, and self-mastery. Every week, we go behind the scenes of high-growth, women-led brands to talk about the real work, the identity evolution, the leadership required, and the strategy that actually sustains success. If you're ready to build a business and life you love, you're in the right room. Okay, welcome back to She Wears the Pants. I am your host, Ashley Deland. Today's guest is the wonderful Ashleigh Henry. Ashleigh is a speaker, a writer, a life coach, and creator of sacred reorientation and holistic harmony in life and business. Her work lives really at the intersection of grief, identity, nervous system leadership, and the sacred return to self. Ashleigh doesn't teach women to push harder. She teaches them how to come home. And after years of advising high-achieving women in brands and businesses, she experienced a kind of sacred unraveling that redefined everything. And now she helps women integrate their ambition with their aliveness and build a life that they can actually inhabit. So Ashleigh, welcome, my love. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm happy to be here with you.
Great. Okay, so let's get started with tell me a little bit about your background and how you got started in the entrepreneurial world.
As a fellow fire sign, I'm sure you can relate that keys were just handed over. Leadership was asked of us.
Always.
So, in one of my first roles, I was 15, and they were like, we need someone to be on the mic, and we need people to market and sell to get sales moving. I was like, give me the mic. I'm ready.
Love that.
So, right. Why did a 15-year-old have a key to the store? That's why. So from then on, it was just a long transitioning experience of marketing, branding, business, leadership, kind of all put into one bubble.
Mm.
And I felt like I was constantly near business owners, even if I was just an employee or some type of leader in their organization. And they're asking, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And I'm seeing kind of the architecture and inside of all of these different businesses. And that's how it led me into my own experience with entrepreneurship. Started with photography, moved into, I guess, what you would call brand advocacy, selling products from different places, influencing, and then finally into building an agency, realizing I hated having an agency, and then business consulting from across the board. And within all of that, the love affair really landed on guiding women, again, at that intersection of grief and leadership and how to kind of metabolize what happens to them and allow for, what's ended to reorient to the life that they desire, not just the life that they're performing so they can achieve in their careers.
Do you think that happened to you personally, which is the direction of reinvention, and now you're able to kind of teach from that space as well?
Yes, I feel like my CEO days were comprising of, hey, why is this thing happening to me right now? And then 6 months, 12 months later, those same style clients would come through. And Ash, it was even if I didn't publicly share that things like this were happening behind the scenes, which I'm sure you can relate. It just, that energy just really speaks. So yeah, very natural.
Isn't all of business? I was just saying how, money holds so much energy. So does your media kit. So does your businesses. Really, business is about holding space for that kind of energy. And I just love that you said that because we're both woo girls. I think everybody knows that about me. This is a new introduction for you, but she's a woo girl. And it is so interesting when we stop sometimes in like the messy middle or in the darkness and we're like, why is this happening to me? Like, are my prayers not clear? Is my trajectory not clear? What is going on? And then you understand
Yeah.
that God doesn't make mistakes. and you have to learn that
Never.
get through it to then teach it to others, even though it sucks to have to get through sometimes. So,
Right.
but
And I love that you said that. I just watched a video yesterday and this man, it was a comedic video, but he was like, what are y'all saying in these prayers? Because I don't know if you're saying it right. Let me pray for myself. I was
it,
cracking up like, yeah, uh-huh.
Mhm. And I guess that kind of transitioned you into where you are now. Do you
Mhm.
find that when you were going through that messy middle, did you have like a support system or somebody that you can lean on to help you get through everything that was weighing heavy? Or were you like, this is a huge gap that I need to fill?
I would say it was a little bit of both. I do feel like there are more business programs than ever that are like, let's have nervous system work, let's do this. But then there would just be a mess of like, okay, but what about your cycle and what about your hormones? Have you checked in, not just gone to Western medical, like just comprising all of these leaders in the same room. I will say I've always had maybe a business coach or consultant, usually would have, we are woo, so a Chinese medicine doctor, something of the sort. Um, but yet and still, I would walk into rooms and realize, even though I'm doing this, other folks aren't necessarily. So there still was an energetic mismatch. Yes.
Mm,
Um, I do feel like there's a gap that I'm feeling filling. I also feel like we're all kind of evolving into recognize that we need more harmony and more holistic harmony overall. The biggest thing that I noticed at the start of some of these big transitions where I was like, I'm kind of a small fry, is how I felt in my agency, and we were landing all of these really big deals. You would never know from social media, etc. But a mentor I had at the time, I just kept going to her and feeling like, I feel like I'm dying. I feel like I'm dying, and this is a funeral of self. What do I do? And I was
yeah.
met with that question again and again of like, what do I do? And no one had the answer. So, yeah, yeah,
Okay, I want to talk about that because I have also felt dying is a very real thing. I have gone through it. I don't even know how many lifetimes I have lived in this one lifetime already. And
right.
um, I think this is a really good topic to share about because my favorite thing is when a woman is listening and she's like, oh my gosh, me too. And
Hmm.
that's why we take the time to come on here and to have this narrative and conversation so that other people don't feel alone in this journey. The death
Hmm.
of self, how many times have you experienced it? What are the symptoms so that people can understand that the evolution is literally they're on the edge of evolution, but sometimes when we're in it, we feel like we're dying. We are not understanding what is happening and we're looking around and we're like, anybody else? And nobody's putting their hands up, right? That is, and then I feel like so many businesses fail not because the business structure, operation systems are not in place. It's because the person holding the success is not able to understand what is happening to her. That's the
Right.
real, that's the real problem. So talk to me about like your experience and what women can look out for symptoms wise.
Yeah. I feel like the biggest symptom is the symptoms. So if you're waking up with headaches and anxiety and my stomach hurts, if you're in business relationships where you walk into the room and you're like, okay, I gotta pat myself down, make sure I feel good, just doing like a constant energetic cleansing, even if you're not woo, you'll notice that you're just fidgety.
Hmm.
Those are the symptoms that you need to really recognize. And it may not even be your work. You may not have enough support in your marriage. You may not have close friendships outside of business that feel safe without feeling maybe transactional or like you all could work together. Just constant collaboration mindsets. There's a couple of things there. I think the symptoms are the biggest thing. And noticing, where do you usually feel pleasure, like peace? When I feel good, I always feel good in my stomach.
Hmm.
And when I feel bad, I always have a stomach ache.
Yeah, me.
So your pleasure and your pain point are usually the same. I will say there's a prevalent thought of there's always a breakdown before the breakthrough.
Yes.
I think that's where maintenance has to come in. So you can consider like, wait, I'm heading towards this breakdown? Am I noticing just like a car? Are there any signals popping up on the dash? And those are the symptoms. The other piece I will say, I do feel like there's some derealization that happens. And I've
Mm.
noticed just, especially with that 7, 8 figure founder, it's like, well, I've achieved everything. What else can I possibly do? And it's like, well, there's so many things you can still do, but do you want to? And do you feel good and ready to do it? Derealization is the big thing where reality doesn't feel quite real and it
Mm.
doesn't feel connected. Like you're living this life that maybe feels a little like a performance, even if
Yes.
you don't mean for it to. Yeah.
Hmm. When you said the breakthrough to break open, I use that line a lot. Some of my own personal mottos are you have to break open to break through. If
Hmm.
it doesn't challenge you, then it doesn't change you. And to
Hmm.
always do the check of am I performing or not? Because I
Hmm.
think we get into the habit of putting our, CEO suit on, putting our glasses on, sitting in front of the computer, and then we go into performance mode. And only when do you start to weave in more and more authenticity and more of yourself and transparency do you start energetically attracting the right people, the clients,
Hmm.
the friendships, the rooms. But we're so
Yeah.
scared to show who we really are at the beginning, thinking we have to be in performance. And that took me far too long to learn.
And you're far too raw and authentic to even have had to like go through that process. Like it comes out from you.
It did. It took me a long time to get back to this place because a lot of people did not respond well to it. And I came from a corporate
Mm.
background where I was like, "Hi, can you shut up and be pretty, please?" And it's like, "Oh, all right, clickety
Yeah.
clack, clickety clack. I'll be at the computer." Um, but only when I
Yep.
became comfortable, and it really actually took me success to feel comfortable to then say, "I have nothing to
Hmm.
prove, so I'm just going to be me." And
Hmm.
listen, with that said, I still don't get people to this very day. Yesterday, didn't appreciate the authenticity or me from who I am, and that's just it. But now I just care less. So that's a good place to
Yeah. That's a good place to be. And very Aries. You're here to teach the world that.
be. The symptoms, you were very clear on those, and I feel like that's something that women really
Mhm.
need to understand. So we said like fidgeting, anxiety, and the new one, pain and pleasure
Mhm.
points happen in the same area. Can you talk about that a little bit more? Because that's the first I'm hearing.
Gosh. I'm also like, how far do we want to go
I know.
within this conversation? Um, yes. So the big thing is I guide women, especially in this cohort right now, just where do you feel pleasure? We found a space in their house. What does it bring? Does it bring you joy? So they centered on that. They felt the sensation in their body of like, this is where pleasure is showing up. One of the
Nice.
gals had it in her chest, the other one in her stomach. And then I was like, okay, now think of something negative, bad, something hard that happened this week. Where do you feel that sensation in your body? Same place,
Hmm.
chest, stomach. So that's where a sacred reorientation comes in. That's the whole process is looking around and finding that one thing that feels sacred that you can reorient to and find that pleasure point. To go a little bit further, and I don't think I've ever publicly shared this. This is usually like private clients only. I know it's spicy,
Oh.
as we say, spicy. But I notice, especially when someone reaches like multiple six figures, it's almost like a switch flips where they're like, well, I can reach 7. I'm heading straight for it.
Yep.
Their sex life changes, especially if they're the
Oh,
breadwinner. Yeah.
so
A
true.
bit, bit.
Yep.
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 It's an immediate sense of control because it's like, oh, I reached this and now I reach this and now I can go for this. And
Mm,
same with like that media placement you've always wanted or that client or contract you've always wanted to land. Sex becomes more difficult because
mhm.
now you're literally tightening your body to try to reach that sense of place or that sense of self
Hmm.
within that goal. So if you're tightening your body, sex probably doesn't feel very good. You're just like, really closed up and you're not open. So I like that you said break open to break through versus a breakdown. I think that can shift an entrepreneur's mind of like, I should always look for that breakdown. We're like setting that firm belief in place. Whereas a break open feels so much more spacious. Like I can release, I can let go. Yeah.
I was not expecting you to take the turn into, I thought we were gonna like be able to pin in, like, is it because she wears the pants now? Like that was gonna be the lead that I was gonna get, not like the tightening. So it's good to know. That's not
I
right.
know. I was like, how spicy are we going? Rated. But honestly, we
That
could
is
say, where's the pants?
worse. That's it. We'll edit it. No, I'm just joking. That's really cool, though. That's actually such an interesting concept, right? And it
Mhm.
makes total sense. That mindset of like 6 to 7, isn't it just so funny how we look at the bank account and we're like, oh, I did it. All right. In within the same second, we're like, time to go to the 7.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
everybody thinks that life is going to be so different when they see an extra figure at the end, and it's not. You look around
Mhm.
and you're like, oh, new levels, new devils. More money, more
Yeah.
problems is a real thing. And you're like, oh, I thought life would get easier
Uh-huh.
when you make more money, but that is not factual whatsoever.
No, no.
Whatsoever.
It's such a beautiful sense of like, where are my beliefs and what's coming into the process and this pot that I've just created. But
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Mhm.
I want to go back to the performance aspect of it because I thought that was just such a key thing to hone in on a little bit. Because
Mhm.
you actually have talked about often the difference between performance and embodiment. And
Mhm.
I really want people to leave this conversation with clarity between them. So,
Mhm.
how can a woman tell if she's performing wholeness?
Mhm.
And what would it feel like for her to stop performing? Because that's also
Mhm.
where that break open moment happens.
Yeah. This goes back to almost a simulation lab, which is something I've taken into this work. Like, I'm sure
Mhm.
you know, if someone is going to sell something larger than they've ever sold before, they have to simulate it first. Otherwise, they're just showing up on the call shaky, or they're sending the contract with lots of explanation within their email. We have to do the same. We have to like be in a room on our own, simulate whatever we're trying to share with the world. So literally put on that performance and you'll start to feel those same sensations where you're fidgeting, where you're overwhelmed, where your pleasure and your pain points are lighting up, popping off.
Mhm.
And the whole thing with performance is whether those sensations feel like they're supporting you to live kind of your deepest truth, where you are fiery. I'm not saying you have to be calm all the time by any means, but if you're constantly fidgeting on a stage because you don't believe that you're allowed to be there, or it's not the work that you're supposed to be doing, or someone else could say it better than you, all of those symptoms will show up on stage. So
Mhm.
simulating it alone, kind of like an only child putting on just a play date for herself, is what I really seek to show women to simulate on their own.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that. Do you find that the limiting belief aspects of that, because if you don't feel like you belong on stage, that equates to a limiting belief, right? Which could be said that it's attached to an ego. Um,
Hmm.
how do you know when you're operating within limiting beliefs?
Hmm. Mm. I still think it goes back to symptoms, and that'll be different for everyone. But I will share an example that I feel that whenever I have a limiting belief kind of running in the background, it does sound like a song or music or some sort, where it's just like constantly rolling, and it's kind of eerie sounding to me, like a
Oh.
sonograph or a phonograph or something, of just repetition. Whereas when we have a belief that's more positive, positivity doesn't have to be repeated as much. Negativity there's so much of it that it spills. So a belief that is limiting actually spills out of container. A
Yeah.
belief that is contained, you only have to say once or twice and you feel solid in it. It's foundational.
Oh, I love that answer so much. I really love that answer. I hope they can like press that circle with the 15 and like listen to that again because that is actually such a great answer. Um, okay. I actually want to talk about the courage that you had to switch careers because so many of us, think that we're tied down to being this one version of self, right? And not
Mhm.
allowing ourselves to have that moment of death for rebirth.
Yeah.
When you were kind of going through it, like you were quite successful, right? Like you were in the PR world, you had the agency, you were doing really, really well. Yet you actively chose to pause, to, reorient, which is your word, and rebuild. Like reorientation is just, now I'm going to equate that with you, and I love it. So, what really kind of gave you the courage to walk away from what success looked like at that time and jump into something, I guess it was brand new to you at the time?
Yeah. Essentially, lifestyle design and coaching was always integrated within business consulting. So it kind of felt like I extracted this service, and the goal was to keep business consulting and have life consulting.
Mm.
So that was the focus in May of 2023. Sketched the programs. Just recently shared about this on Instagram. This does get slightly heavy. So if you're not well resourced, maybe pause and come back.
Hmm.
I sketched those programs, prepared to launch them fall 2023. The same weekend, I sketched those programs at a retreat on my own in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee. My brother in law passed away suddenly. He was 25, and everything reoriented from there of just, do I want to be doing this or do I need to really shift to just what lights me up right now? And that's life consulting. And I will say, many limiting beliefs came through,
Mhm.
especially the same things that I teach: build a business for sale, don't just exit and close it down. So that was difficult. And the courage, honestly, at that time was the breakdown. It was the depression, the anxiety, the fear of, will I lose more people and not have enough space in my calendar to have time with those people?
Right.
So the trajectory of the next 5 to 10 years within the agency consulting for the Cheetah Company was massive. And I knew if I wanted to start a family and begin my life in the next chapter of my life in a really peaceful, positive, supportive way for what I needed right then, it was time to close the firm. And that was very difficult.
Ugh, it sounds very
Yeah.
difficult. Is there any words of wisdom you can give women listening right now who are going through that kind of transition, but they just don't know how to take that next step because everything feels so heavy?
Hmm. Yeah. It still goes back to feeling your sensations. If you're not sure how to sit with your sensations, I would say do it with someone that knows how, especially a therapist. My husband, we went to grief therapy together. It was one of the best things we possibly could have done to no longer disassociate from the feelings that we were feeling. And overall, the transition, I know it's kind of like waving from the mountaintop while you're in the valley. It's worth it. I would climb that summit again and again just to experience this side of this life.
Yeah, you really stepped into what people would define as freedom, right? Like you had,
Hmm.
considering up, I mean, as someone who owns an agency, I know exactly what you were in. I don't know what you're in right now, but it sounds
Okay.
wonderful. Um, but I know how scary it is to kind of take that leap. And it's interesting that you're talking about therapy because well, Ryan and I have been in couples therapy since for 12 years, and we've been married for 10 years. So I made us go to therapy prior to, because I'm a child of two divorces.
Yeah.
And it's just like literally the best, most amazing thing ever. And anybody who knows us, like Ryan and my relationship is so solid. It's insane. And our communication is our love language. So it's number one, transparency, trust, communication. It's life-changing. Therapy is the most beautiful thing in the entire world. And I've also had a lineages of business coaches and life coaches. So like when you
Yeah.
mentioned get resourced, if this is going to trigger you, I was like, man, isn't that a message in itself? Can we start asking for help,
Mhm.
please? Like ask,
Yeah.
receive, because it's all
Yeah.
out there for you. Like this is part of life. Oh, goodness.
Truly, truly. I love that. Did you
Yeah.
say 12 years together overall? Oh, Chris and I too, next week.
Oh, it's oh
Congratulations to you.
yeah,
Yeah.
next week. That's amazing. Yeah, I was the woman in corporate with a high job, meeting all the celebrities, slept with the phone under my pillow, and like if a boyfriend got if he looked at me wrong, I was like, "You're too serious and you're out of here. Like get away from me." So to be the one who's married for 12 years with a child, unrecognizable. So it's
Right. No longer looking for the escape chute. You're here.
exactly. And that also took me many years in marriage to be like, oh,
Mhm.
do I still want this? But that is a limiting belief again from
Mhm.
the past. So, oh my God, I love that. So, if you could like literally leave listeners with one sentence, like one grounding truth to return to, what do you think it would
Mm. If you create from regulation rather than adrenaline and from
be?
presence instead of performance, everything will change.
I love that. I
Yeah.
really do. Our signature she wears the pants question is too similar because like I don't even think I need to ask it, but I will just say it because my type A ass is going to think about, oh, I didn't ask this as a question. Our signature she wears the pants question. Looking back on your journey of wearing the pants, what message do you want to relay for future generations of women in business?
I think the biggest thing is, and I don't have the true data on it, right? I want to say the past 20 years, maybe 25 years, is when women really became the breadwinners. Would you say that's true?
Mhm.
2025 sounds right. So we are the first several generations doing this. Of
Yeah,
course, we're terrified. Be
yeah,
terrified and lean into every part of it. We used to live in such a different fashion in villages, being protected,
yes.
having immense community. Still find that community, still let yourself feel terrified, and just resource safety.
Safety and help,
Yeah,
absolutely. I love that.
yeah.
Okay, tell us where people can find you. Are you enrolling for a new cohort soon? Like, give us a little bit of insight on how we can get connected to you.
Yes. Okay. So my name is long. My mother decided Ashley had to be different. She was 27 hours post labor. So ASHLEIGHC Henry.com is where you can find me. All of my handles are the same. And right now we are enrolling for the winter cohort, which I think is going to start the second week of February. $300 off, and that is until the end of 2025. And
Amazing.
it's a beautiful program where we just move from overdrive to harmony. That's the main focus.
Oh, how long is the cohort?
4 months.
Oh,
Beautiful 4 months.
amazing. Okay, so ashleightchenry.com, $300 off for the rest of 2025. And it starts in February, the 4 month cohort. So I love that. Ashley, you are a true, true, true bright soul. And you know, I think everybody listening is so thankful for all the deaths and the rebirths to get you into this version who is pouring into us and teaching us today. So thank you for being here so much. We honor you.
Thank you. Thank you.
This was She Wears the Pants, where women rise into what they're meant to hold. If this episode moved you, changed you, or challenged you, send it to a woman you want to see rise. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And if you're ready for deeper strategy, identity expansion, and high-level support, you can find me on Instagram at Ashley Deland. Until next time, keep leading boldly, building intentionally, and becoming the woman your calling requires.